Do you want to know how to ruin your life? Become a music manager. I'm kidding. Kind of. What I actually meant is work for a major label as an A&R consultant. I'm kidding. Kind of. No, those things didn't ruin my life, but I've had a weird year. And obviously this channel has kind of been dead on the vine. And I would love to finally tell you all the story thoroughly of why. Because I have felt like I can't really let you in on everything I've been up to for a couple years. But it's going to make sense of a lot of things. I'm proud of what I did. I feel like I finally have a story to tell. I've learned a lot. And I know this isn't a video about the Joshua Sloan album, which you are probably wanting, but I have to say this, and I hope a few people care. So I feel like I need to take y'all back about 3 years, because it was at the very beginning of 2023 that I basically got involved in producing music for this guy named Brendan Walter. I saw him come up on TikTok, he was doing some cover, and I was like, damn, he's really good.
There's a girl in this harbor town.
I sent him a DM, just said, you're really good. That was it. And I was like, this guy's just different. These songs are fun. The cover choices are interesting. But that DM accidentally changed the entire trajectory of my life for the past few years. I knew nothing about Brendan, but I quickly learned he's from Dallas. He was at school in Chicago where he was playing hockey. And I told him over DM, like, bro, you should put out some music. Some of your originals are cool. And I told a little of this story last year. I tried to link him with a guy named Austin Jenkins. Austin Jenkins like developed and wrote a bunch of the early Leon Bridges stuff and produced music for him, for the band Camp. And I was like, hey, Austin, would you work with this guy? He's trying to get started. And Austin was like, I think you should produce this music, and said he would help get us set up in a studio if I would try it with Brendan. So my very first conversation was like, hey dude, I know you're in college and I'm really not trying to lean into your life, but I think a thing is happening where I believe in you. This guy believes in me. If we're willing to work together, he'll like help you get started and you make a couple songs. So Brendan, in April of 2023, came to Nashville, stayed at some terrible hotel, and we went to Jeremy Fergen's studio, Battle Tapes, and I played like dress up idiot producer. Oh, is there a breakup that's happened here? I don't necessarily even think that's what you mean in it. Yeah. Maybe I just think of it as the beginning because you always start your things like when you play this. And we made 2 songs that Brendan released a few months later.
I run out of things to say.
Somewhere in that window, Brendan was like, hey, I really like working with you. I feel like you think about music really differently. Like, let's just keep doing that. And so we did. I was like, hey, it's kind of fun for me too. I've never gotten to go in the studio and try to apply any of the music knowledge that I kind of have just from listening to it a lot. And so we just kind of became good friends, and I was just kind of helping out for fun. There was no commission involved. And meanwhile, I had taken that deal with that video game Country Star, and that was just a tremendous amount of money and so fun and cool to see like how a total different industry works. And so when it came to recording, I was also able to kind of chip in and help pay for it, because recording can be expensive, even recording totally independently, at least if you want to be fair and actually pay the people that work on stuff. So after a few months, I started going down to Texas. He was living in Austin after college where he was bartending, and I would sleep on that damn couch in his frat house of an apartment. And then we started doing some songs at 5th Street Studios with a guy named Nick Joswick, which was really cool. Austin, now that I've recorded some in Nashville and in Austin culture just totally different. Nashville players really like a lot of formula. If something worked on the first chorus, let's do it on the second. Broadly speaking, in my few experiences in Texas, it's kind of the opposite. Hey, well, if we did that on the first verse, let's not do it on the second. Although I didn't know that at the time. We were just still learning everything in the studio. Me and Brendan even sometimes started writing songs together or like rewriting a couple things, which was a weird Rubicon to cross. And there's always gonna be that imposter syndrome where I'm like, am I really the dude that has reviewed music for years that's now gonna like try and write, try and produce? But I don't know, we just get each other. We're like a really good creative team. And Brendan is just a really, really hard worker. So basically over the course of like the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024, we recorded down there and geez. Also just had all of the soul-crushing, horrible content shoots.
Right, ready.
Of us trying to find like cool spots around Austin where we could make better content. When really that's such a crapshoot, and it's almost like a gauntlet you have to go through, a shame gauntlet. So poor Brendan, the things I made him do out in public. Be like, hey, what if you kicked at the camera and then played? And I don't know why. Sometimes these things seem funny. And while all that was getting figured out, Brendan was starting to get a lot of gigs. He was playing Saxon Pub in Austin quite a bit, and he eventually got an agent, shout out CAA, and he was going on the road playing acoustic in front of Wyatt Flores, in front of Evan Honer, in front of Cassius Culpepper, and learning the art of getting in the van as the opening act or settling at the end of the night. And just getting a ton of reps as we were trying to put out this music when we could. And I don't know, we learned everything along the way of like, you have to submit album art. We were working with Cloverdale Records, which is Evan Honer's company that helped us distribute, and they work with tons of independent artists, but they had to kind of teach us the ropes of like, hey, you should have a canvas, you should have the album art in by this date so we can submit to playlists and stuff like that. And I'm proud to say we never did an AI artwork on any of those. In fact, the Down by the River cover, I drew that. I drew that in oil pastels. Otherwise, it would be coordinating a photo shoot and getting that ready to go. But I feel like a lot of that first year and a half with Brendan was kind of learning his writing style and just getting him writing more. Like, he had a bunch of songs when I met him, but when he would come up to Nashville, he would stay freaking right upstairs in that room right over there. And I would try and link him with just some cool people that I knew in the industry, various songwriters that I know. Over the course of about a year and a half, Brendan had put out 5 songs, then we released 2 more last November and compartmentalized all of it onto an EP. But whatever, we were just like learning and trying stuff, and again, it was still really just kind of like weird. I was like, I guess we're kind of working together. Okay, so in the midst of all that, somewhere along the line, I got the call from RCA Records. I also told you a little bit about this last year. RCA Records, home of Childers, Coulter Wall, Red Clay Strays, asked if I wanted to be a consultant to their A&R department. A&R is like artist development, and a lot of times it is the entry point of an artist into the major label system. A&Rs will come to your shows, they'll meet you. Ultimately, their hope would be, if you are also interested or the music's really moving, to sign you to a deal at the record label and then build that business together. And I was seriously considering that job, especially because Brendan at that time was seriously considering actually relocating to Nashville. I could feel that we were about to enter into just kind of a new era where he was going to need to record more, and frankly, we were going to need cash flow. And I was like, well, I'm being offered a very lucrative consultancy opportunity, and it would be good to learn this, and maybe this is a job I could grow old with in a way that I don't know if I can on YouTube, because reviewing music feels like such a young man's game. And so anyway, it just kind of made sense to me to like take the leap. Dan Chertoff is who gave me the job, and I'm so grateful to him. He's so smart, he's so good. But man, I found this job a challenge, because RCA really wanted me for my taste. We're like, hey, you really can spot really good people early. And so I was just sitting here offering true nobodies from a streaming standpoint. This kid is 1 out of 1. He's so good. I saw him live. He's amazing. But oftentimes the stuff I'm bringing to the table, it's just too small for a major label to really want it. Like, now that I understand the economics of labels a lot better, the business model for them is not always so great. Like, you're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to acquire an artist, and given what you get paid out on streaming, you're basically only gonna make that money back if one of the songs is getting hundreds of millions of streams. And so for the vast majority of artists that are in a deal, it's at a major cost to the label, and so they can't just be signing anything. I mean, they could, but they don't. And that's why when you see anything go viral on TikTok, you get a swarm of 20 labels around that artist all at the same time. Because in music industry brain, that says, oh, there's some kind of built-in audience, and we know that this is a connection point, and it's less risk than trying to build something completely out of nothing, and we would have a better shot of getting our money back in this. The kind of ironic thing, in my opinion, about that is at the exact moment that there's 20 labels swarming around some kid that is going viral on TikTok, then the price to sign said kid goes way, way up because there's so much more competition and the artist has more leverage. So I feel like that kind of offsets the earning potential that you feel like you're getting from going after someone going viral. But I understand there's economics involved here. But I wasn't very good at going after the people that were viral right in the moment. There's a million guys in hoodies flying in from LA and New York. They're gonna be way better closers and sitting across from an artist that's really viral being like, kid, we can make you a star. I'm not gonna win those battles. I'm not a good closer. I feel like the thing I offered was access. It's like, oh, I was at that show and no one cared. That's kind of what I'm good for. But it's not really that feasible in the music industry. Again, not trying to shade RCA. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. But that job really stressed me out. And I told them when I kind of didn't renew, I was like, it's just not me. Like, I want to build something out of nothing. I like the first couple steps. It's very YouTube in that way. Like I started on a webcam and then I had to learn how to edit and get this camera and learn how to make my own merch. Like all these things I've gotten to apply on the Brendan side of my life. But man, that job is hard. It's its own little bubble where every A&R is talking about the same buzzy artist because someone got a lawyer that's important in New York and they're working with Noah Khan's manager or something. I'm making all this up. And then people in A&R are trying to be so early that you almost get over things before they've even come out. And meanwhile, all of that can sometimes seem like a waste of time because you just all end up chasing whatever's viral on TikTok. I just basically had a short list of like 5 artists, and every week I was like, regardless of the data, these are my 5. These are my 5 that I really think are the ones. But the other part of that job that was hard for me was this. Because sometimes I would want to review those people, and sometimes it would be like, but I'm meeting him for coffee in 2 days. So I don't really want to say positive or negative on some public platform because then it's going to seem manipulative. Like if I speak positive, it's going to seem like, oh, I'm trying to win you over and use my own account as leverage. Or if I say something negative, you're like, well, that's going to be awkward. Then I don't want to be fake in the meeting and be like, you're so great. And they never told me to do that. They always were like, say whatever you want on your platforms. That's what's cool about you. Artists trust that. But I just found it personally challenging. So in summer of this year, I ended up telling them, hey, thank you so much, but like I'm not going to renew. I just don't think I'm meant to be a label guy. I like being a free agent. And then meanwhile, I have learned the major label system in a different way through Brendan. And for that, let me take you back to last summer. And I feel like this is the meat of everything. Last summer, June 2024, Brendan moved to Nashville. And we had just released this song called Gassed Up. That's a total banger, and it completely flopped out of the gate. And we were a little bit crashing out over it because he'd been having some good momentum and then it just felt like boom, brick wall. And he was like, I think we just need to go ham. I think we should just start putting out a song every single month. And I really disagreed with him. I was like, I kind of have the opposite take. I think we got to stop doing that. I think you should slow all the way down. You should spend this entire summer just writing. And then in the fall, we should make a whole album because everyone is going song by song and you should make an album. And Brendan listens to me and I listen to him. It's a very good working relationship. But that's exactly what we did. Last summer was all writing. Brendan was writing a ton by himself. I was setting up every co-write that I could, some of which I got involved in. I mean, I asked people I knew, again, punching way above our weight class, and was like, hey, Gary from Muscadine, do you want to write with Brendan? And he'd be like, yeah, you come too. That's what Rob Williford, who's got like 4 number ones with Luke Combs, said. He was like, oh no, stay, you're in this, right? Man, Brendan wrote like some bangers with like David Duvall, who I knew from Wyatt Flores' music, with Colton Venner, who I loved his own music, and I loved that song that Luke Grimes cut of his called Where It's Blue. And then meanwhile, he's moved here, making his own friends, doing his own writes at the same time. And then we came up with this album concept called Disappearing Days, which is something Brendan always says. I just want to make sure that these days like aren't disappearing, that I'm being purposeful with them. Like he's such a athlete to his core. And I love that about him. Like I wouldn't want to work with someone who's freaking lazy. But yeah, that album was like in a lot of ways born right here in this house. And it's funny, even just looking around this room, I see all the evidence of stuff from like a year ago where that board here was kind of like the track list of the songs, what instruments we were imagining on it. I love a vision board, and I was like, let's make this album, and it kind of had, ignore JC Chazé, it was just the right color palette, but like Natalie Imbruglia and Dunking Chic and Goo Goo Dolls and all these kind of all this kind of style of writing that I recognized as being very Brendan. You write and sing exactly in this era of like Matchbox 20, Third Eye Blind, and we would like listen to the Dashboard record and stuff like that and try and incorporate it into his kind of natural Texas country vibes. And we just decided to make this record that we were going to put out independently. It's an album about growing up, someone's first couple years of adulthood, and this like young man with gusto. That was actually one of my phrases. I had 3 key phrases that I wanted to capture, which was eager, a sense of adventure, and young man with gusto, somehow musically. Also, editor Grady here for a second. I know I'm kind of centering myself in this story and what I contributed to, and really Brendan's the star of it. He's the one that has to work the hardest. He's the one that's writing the song. But I can only tell the side that I did and saw. I can only tell my story. And that's what I'm trying to do in this video. And I just feel like I needed to acknowledge that. So in September and October of last year, we had about 10 days in a studio here in town called Goosehead Palace. It's owned by a guy named Dan Nobler. We were working with Lake Wilkinson as the engineer. We like really spent our money on that record, which is funny because in the scheme of making records, we did it extremely cheap. But we were able to hire session musicians and get these amazing guys to play on it and call in some favors and fly in Brendan's guitarist Sean. He's amazing. He plays in Kill Tony sometimes. We had Kurt Ozon, who plays steel for Luke Combs. A guy named Bridger that plays with Cassius Culpepper. It was just great people. Great people all came into the studio, and I'm leaving out half of them, but it was just so fun. And Brendan can just like sing his ass off and sounded great. But yes, we make this record. Then you got to get all the songs mixed, and poor Lake has to deal with my notes. I hate giving notes because I always feel guilty. Something I've learned in the last couple of years is I do not enjoy comms in writing. I just want to talk it out. Just want to talk it out. So that was our plan last fall. But then at the very end of last year, Brendan had this one other song that wasn't part of Disappearing Days. It's one that he wrote with Low Gap, and longtime viewers of the channel know I love Low Gap. And they had made a song together called If a Song Could Change Your Mind, which has ended up being a really good streaming hit for both of them. But that really, really lifted Brendan's profile. And it led to some discussions starting to percolate with labels where people were calling me, being like, are you managing this guy? And I'm like, oh, kinda, not really. Like, I'm just helping him out. I mean, I'm probably the best contact, but I'm not a manager. And led to many crazy discussions with me and Brendan being like, I guess I am your manager? So anyway, I start fielding some of those phone calls. And that kind of gets us to the point in Brendan's career where I made my last video, which was in January of this year. And I was like, guys, I'm so excited. I feel like I can get back onto YouTube. No sooner had I said those words that we got a call to go up to New York City and talk to this company called Records. It's a record label named Records. It's kind of confusing. But we just had an incredible meeting up there. They love Brendan. He like knocked their socks off. He sang one of his songs, Pipe Dream. And suddenly me and Brendan were knee deep in discussions with labels, which, wow, I was not prepared for. Then it was time to learn the world of attorneys. As soon as we were talking about like real contracts and even thinking through like, do we want a deal? Because I feel like built my whole name being like, the labels are bad and evil. And I think I understand a little bit better now, especially now that I've paid for a lot of things, that labels definitely have their place. There is a compromise. You give them some of the rights of your music. They give you some money and resources to help hopefully launch your music. And not everyone's story is the same. If you have a crazy source of cash flow, then by all means, you can stay independent your whole life. If you don't, then you're going to need to make deals with some people somewhere along the line. But even so, it's a lot to think about. You're talking in lengths of decades, not in lengths of like, could we do this for a few months? And having to learn what options are, what min-maxes are, what, just contracty things. So shout out to Michael, our lawyer, who is like a godsend and helped make sense of all of these things to us. But by the springtime of this year, it was becoming clear Brendan's going to do a deal and they want to put out this album that we made that we were just going to drop in the spring. And I'm going to need some help because literally I have no idea what I'm doing. So I had been in conversations for like a year with a bunch of big managers trying to say, hey, you should manage this guy. He's really talented. He has cool music. He keeps becoming a better and better and better writer. He's playing great live shows. But every single powerful manager I talked to was just like, but it's you. You're the manager. So you could come work for my company and he could be your client, but you're the manager. There's literally not one person that didn't say that to me. And I was like, but I don't think I'm a good manager. I am not logistical. I am not organized. I don't like responding to people. And they're like, yeah, but he's not going to trust anyone more than you. Which, touche, probably true. But I ended up making a deal with True Grit Management, who has like Charles Wesley Godwin and Houndmouth. And I've known those guys for years, especially because I was such a big Charles fan pretty early on. And they were from Austin, where Brendan was living, so he'd gotten to meet them a bunch of times. And we made a deal where I basically came on underneath True Grit. They would help me understand things about contracts, how to tour better, how to send emails to promoters. Then when it comes into financial advisors and commissions and making sure this is paid and that is paid, there's a lot of freaking paperwork in this industry that I just didn't know about, and it's nice to have someone with experience that I feel like I can fall back on. But damn, it does not come naturally to me. As I say to them all the time, I'm like, you guys know I'm like really bad at this. But I'll get to that in a second. Basically, Brendan did sign a record deal with Records and Sony Music Nashville. We took the whole fancy signing photo and then started releasing this music that we had recorded the year before. Now, there is a lot to learn in this portion of things. And learning how the major label system works has really exposed me to all of my flaws as a person, as a worker, as a naturally defiant soul. And I've a little bit been in crash out for the better part of this year, and it's entirely my fault. Because you really got to have your ducks in a row. It's pretty different than just like you upload it yourself, and it can be like 2 weeks before, and you just write like a little pitch, and there's the cover, and you're good to go. There's a lot more legal hoops to jump through and approvals that need to be made. This is a streaming platform exclusive photo for Apple or Spotify, and then this is a photo for press outlets, and then, there's all these decisions that have to be made that I wasn't used to. And there's a lot of emails that have to get sent, and I'm a bad emailer. Guys, in my personal email, the way I prided myself for a decade on never responding to anyone in Nashville, mixed with what my last few months have been, is funny. Because I have like 47,000 unopened emails in my personal email. And that just doesn't work in management. It doesn't. You are supposed to be the go-between. Hey, does Brendan want to do this? Does Brendan want to do this right on this day? Does he want to do this? Like, it's not actually hard for some people. I watch a million people thriving where they just love like making the deal, going. Oh, I sent that email. I got that invoice. We're responding to this. We're getting that. I crash out over every single one. It is a real struggle for me. I'm just like, could we meet in a room and talk about it and whiteboard it out and think about ideas? And they're just kind of like, yeah, I just need to know if it's a yes or a no on this photo. And like, I'm not trying to shade them. Like, that is literally all it is. But for some reason, I'm bad at that. And wow, that has really stretched me this year. And I've loved meeting all the people at the label and seeing kind of what their different roles are, especially collaborating on like photo shoots or video shoots. And it took me a minute to get my sea legs, but I think I've learned that you can just disagree with them if you want to and say, can we try doing something this way? But that requires communication. And they've been really great and patient with me because it's a lot to learn all of this administration stuff. Fortunately, I brought some people around that are much better suited to some of that stuff, but it takes a minute to figure out the flow because I haven't been corporate at all in a while. And the other part that's hard is like, I'm used to being a diva. I'm used to representing myself, but it's different when you're representing someone else. And I love Brendan and want only like the best things for him. So I want to do a good job at that. But man, old habits die hard. And in general, a lot of things are hard, even making YouTube videos, because management happens in the shadows. You kind of shouldn't be seen and shouldn't be heard, shouldn't be noticed. Just be shining light on the artist. Guess what? That's hard for me. I like a little limelight. I like talking. I like my audience. And it's been a confusing role. It is a confusing role. A lot of people messaged me, I remember, and said like, weigh in on Baker Blankenship, weigh in on Hudson Westbrook. But Brendan opened for both of them in the last year. And I've been backstage and said, hello, do I really want to, as a manager of another artist, be shaking the hand of this manager being like, oh yeah, I also got on YouTube and talked about your artist? Kind of weird. Not saying it can't be done, but I certainly got in my head about it. Because I always told Brendan from the moment we met, I was like, I'm never going to advertise you on YouTube, which, you can determine for yourself what this video is. Is it just a big advertisement for Brendan? But like, I never wanted to be the center of his story. I was like, you got to build your own thing. And he has. But in general, it's just a bit of a, for lack of a better term, a mind fuck, at least for an overthinker like me. To just know how to navigate Grady as personal brand with Grady as manager. Especially because like, I was like, I only meant to just help you produce music. I didn't even know what I was doing there. And so also this year, I needed to find outlets outside of music, and I ended up starting an entire alternate brand that has been my main moneymaker all year. And this is weird, everyone. Prep yourselves. But I've somehow become a quite popular Pokemon card TikToker. I have a bunch of cards to add to my master set binders. Like a bunch of cards. And a bunch of binders. I have liked Pokemon cards for a long time. Never made content about it. But when I was just overwhelmed with too much music industry in my life, I was like, I'm gonna just start a different channel and just see if I applied stuff about social media to it that I've learned over the years. Could it be successful? And boy, has it. Grady on been a godsend for me being able to pay my bills. But that has been so fun. It really made me love music again, to just kind of get out of that space, to have places I could go around Nashville and go into a card shop, and zero people there are ever going to lean in and be like, did you hear Miranda Lambert might change her agency? That's not real gossip, but that's how it would feel when you go to any bar in town. Everyone's just talking about that stuff, and like a card shop, it's like, it's safe from all that. If you think I've posted no content this year, I've actually made hundreds of videos on TikTok, which I really lucked out. That really became a craze this year. So yeah, weirdly, that has been a great creative outlet and Steam releaser. But I don't mean to imply that I've just been looking for something to escape all of the music biz side of things, because at the same time, it's also been like really awesome and made me feel a little bit like Batman. I will take on new challenges. I will try new things. And if I'm going to kind of derail my own momentum on social media, at least we're doing cool stuff. At least you went from college to kind of starting to make it as a musician to having a major deal with an album coming out. Like, I feel like we went from nowhere to the starting line. And that's how Brendan and I think about it, to the starting line. And meanwhile, all the creative endeavors that me and Brendan have gotten to take on this year are so fun. Stuff I've always thought about and dreamed about getting to go do on the visual side are really fun. We kind of felt like music videos were important for this project. We were taking so much inspiration from that turn of the millennium sound of kind of pop rock, that Goo Goo Dolls, Third Eye Blind feel. And we're like, music videos were just such an important part of that era of music. We gotta have music videos, even though everyone's like, just do content. We wanted to shoot music videos, and man, that was so fun. We shot this crazy walkthrough video in a warehouse in Columbia, Tennessee. And we did it with like guys that have edited videos on this channel. The Lainey Wilson video I did a couple years ago, those guys were editing for me, and they got to direct and shoot this video for his song Back on Desiree. Kind of took inspo from Lisa Loeb's Stay music video. We went to Kentucky and rented out a whole ice rink. Shout out to the Lexington Ice Center for being nice and taking pity on us and giving it to us for a very cheap rate for 10 hours. And this guy named Ben Skipworth, who I knew from this channel because he was doing the creative direction for Hardy's first album. And we kind of reconnected when Brendan shot a Country Central session. And then Skip ended up doing 3 music videos with Brendan for this project. So we did one at that ice rink for The Other Side, which is the big love ballad. I love the Disappearing Days one. We actually shot it in Brendan's house that he lives in Nashville. And it's all one kind of like long shot. It's exactly what's on the vision board over on my floor, like all these themes of moving. And there's guys kind of like taking out boxes all from around him as if he's a ghost in his own space. But like we did all this cool content for Normal Day. We shot like a mini, basically vertical music video at a carnival for Asking for a Friend. I thrive in that setting, which makes sense. I like making a video. It's fun, and it's fun to try different things, and like it's fun to be scrappy and learn how to make it work. Not that we have figured out content, it remains elusive to us. It feels like all TikTok wants is Brendan playing guitar in his room. But I don't know, that's how you learn. I have to think there are still people out there that do pay attention to all these little things, because that's how I was. Like now Emily Ann Roberts is killing it, but like 2 years ago when I felt like I was on an island being like, Emily Ann Roberts is so good, I was like, she has a brand, she has real visuals, this album feels like something. That's what I think me and Brendan are trying to do. And it may be like this romantic vision that no one cares about, but it's fun to try. And when I listen to Disappearing Days in full and look at the visuals, I'm like, I get this. I get who this guy is. I get what he's saying. I hear his passion. This is a young man about to take on the world. And so I just hope other people feel that way too. So we've put out 5 of these songs so far. Some have done better than others. Some songs are way bigger on Apple. Some songs are way bigger on Spotify. It's not predictable in that way, but overall, like the trend line of everything is just like slow, real, organic growth. While I wouldn't mind if he had some giant viral hit, I like that every kind of fan he has acquired, it's just been because they're about it. Because they see him live or they've heard a song and they like it and they're about it. It's a slower growth, but it feels like a sturdier one. It honestly feels a lot like YouTube. And it's been so incredible to watch the shows get better and watch Brendan start playing with a live band and get to play his first Whiskey Jam and then go to Spotify House and then get a CMA Fest stage and then open for 49 Winchester and then go on our own tour. He got to play 5 shows around the country, and some were really good, some were kind of good. But you know, we sold 184 tickets in Denver. That was really exciting to us. People did come. People were singing the songs. And I promise if you knew how much harder it is to sell 50 tickets than it is to get 50,000 views online, I promise you would forgive me a little bit for not posting. But I'm very proud of him as a performer. But that's what I've been up to, everyone. And I feel like with this album coming out, I feel like I'm re-entering myself. Like this was a crazy fever dream, and I'm not going to call it a side quest. This was just a true quest, a snowball that kept going where I was like, man, I'm having fun going in the studio with this guy. Oh, I guess I'm managing him. Oh, he's going on the road. I'm driving the van. But there's a real thing for me. And that's the only way to build and to learn it and to just get my hands dirty. Because none of this has been easy and all of it's been hard. And all of it makes me think so differently about the music industry. And there's just things I couldn't have known unless I did it, unless I called a studio and booked it. And there's things I would have never known about management unless I lived it. This mysterious relationship where you're like, I need you to succeed, but you need me to get you to succeed too. Parental mixed with friendship, mixed with I want to speak a life into you every time, but I'm also the main person whose job it is to like put you in your place. And then when do I take off that cap and I'm just a normal person? And is it even appropriate to tell you my problems, or should this just be one way? And you know, in many ways, Brendan is like my manager more than I'm his. I have a lot of feelings, everyone. But it's just been so cool, and it's been like an honor. And like I said, in no way do I feel like he's made it. But we have a seat at the table, and I think really cool music, and more to come. In the future, I want him to spread his wings beyond me and go work with like the LeBrons of the music production world. And I, meanwhile, want to like still be able to give my commentary, my observational skill. I value it about myself. I want it to still exist somehow in the world. And so I don't know what becomes exactly this channel, but that's where I've been. And I've just felt like I couldn't say anything, so I didn't want to mess up a deal or mess up opportunities for him or mess up my RCA gig or mess up anything. But I just can't. I can't be like that. So if you care, if you want to hear an album by Brendan that's like his true heart and life in songs and produced by me trying to bring him to life, it's out this week and I hope people like it. What a ramble of a video, but I owed it to you all to actually show you what I'm up to. I've tried to film this like 3 times this year, and I was like, I don't want to interrupt the flow right now of what I'm learning, of what Brendan's learning, but it's time. I want to tell him. So there you go. There's my update, and love y'all, and hopefully see you soon.